Greetings and konnichiwa, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. This is your host, the Barkeep, bringing you podcast 77 here at the tavern, presented by Hirotaku.com. Well, in the last couple of weeks, my wife and I have been going to the movies and checking out a lot of the new Marvel movies. In particular, we went to see Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and X-Men Days of Future Past. We enjoyed both movies tremendously. They were a lot of fun, and I'm hoping since, heck, if the Marvel movies are this much fun, I just hope the next Power Ranger movie can kind of live up to this standard that Marvel has made for superhero movies now. But when I was going to the movies, here's the thing. I've never actually read a comic book. I mean, yeah, I've watched Linkara's stuff, and I've seen some, comics here and there and stuff. But I've never really, been a comic reader, but I do know a lot of stuff about comic universes and characters and so forth, primarily because of the animated series that I watch. I watched Batman the animated series, Superman the animated series, Ninja Turtles, which was originally based off a comic, and of course in the 90s, the Spider-Man animated series on Fox, as well as the X-Men. So I have an understanding of a lot of these characters based on just their animated incarnations that I've kind of been raised on. But nevertheless, before a movie and after a movie, I typically will go ahead and do research on a character if I'm not particularly familiar with them. And sometimes I'll just do some research for the heck of it because, well, it's fun. And so I found myself doing a lot of that with characters like the Winter Soldier, with some secondary characters in the Winter Soldier film that apparently were a bigger deal than what they were in the movie and may, be in later films, and definitely in Days of Future Past when there were a lot of characters that I was not particularly familiar with, particularly the future characters. But of course I knew who Bishop was and all of that. But, nevertheless, the point is I did research on these Marvel characters, and of course, going through a little bit of research, I ended up on a Marvel wiki, and I found something rather interesting which kind of sparked my imagination a little bit. In particular, I found reference to Earth 79203. Now, again, I'm not really familiar with a lot of specific lore in comics, but I do know that both Marvel and DC, they have multiple Earths, multiple timelines. Particularly in DC, it seems to be multiple publishing houses or companies in which they tell different stories and then can merge them with Batman and things like that. Marvel seems to have a similar thing going on, where they have the main Marvel universe and they have splinter universes based off their Transformers line, their Brute Force line, or anything like that. But they have still their main continuity, the Ultimate or Unlimited continuity. I forget which one it is. And I think, and correct me now, I need you Marvel fans out there to correct me on some things here in the video, because through my searches, I'm not able to get the specific information that I'm looking for here. So if I miss a couple things, please let me know about that and kind of describe in detail, just because I had a hard time really trying to find specific information for this video. But a quick wiki search basically says that the main Marvel universe is Universe 616. And while looking at different universes and different things like Spider-Ham and things like that, I stumbled upon 79203, which, according to the Marvel Wiki, is the universe in which Battlefield J resides in. So as Raptor and I have discussed previously on this show, Toei did have a relationship in the 70s and early 80s with Marvel to produce, the Spider-Man television show, Battle Fever J, Sun Vulcan, all those different shows were all part of a Marvel copyright, basically. Now, so this universe that we have, 79203, is full of whatever Battle Fever J is up to, and unless you believe that every season is a separate universe and all that, it means that that universe is the Marvel universe all put together, basically. So there we have Sun Vulcan and Bioman and Zyuranger and Gokaiger all living together. And it makes me wonder, with all the Marvel properties that they have, as mentioned before, the Transformers franchises and all that, what they're doing with the Avenger movies and all these other characters, it just makes me wonder, why is it that Battle Fever J, and to the greater extent Super Sentai, is not a Marvel property that is flourishing or was used really outside of Japan? Now, let me kind of explain a couple of things right here. In doing this, I could not find any other information about 79203 as far as what comics were associated with it. Was there anything Battle Fever J published in America under that name? Did Battle Fever J ever make an appearance in a Marvel comic? Or anything like that. It seems that everything Marvel did with the Sentai franchise was limited to Japan. Again, if I'm wrong on that, I would like somebody to go ahead and tell me and present some evidence. And it seems that the last thing that they did with the Marvel copyright was in 1981 when they did Sun Vulcan. Now, as we've talked about before, Stan Lee tried to go ahead and get Sentai over to America, and one way or another, it didn't happen. But does that mean that Battle Fever J and the other Sentai, they no longer have a Marvel copyright for the comic books or distribution in the United States? And if they don't, who does? Because what I'm trying to go ahead and figure out here is, again, we are in, I don't know where the comics stand, but as far as motion pictures and television, I would say we're pretty much in the golden age of Marvel in mass media. Because with the internet and just the high production value of these films, the quality, the directors you're getting, the actors you're getting. I mean, heck, anytime you can get a film with Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, you're golden, I say. So we have this flourishing of the Marvel characters and other franchises than just comic books. And I would think that even though there's a popularity of Power Rangers already in the United States, which seems to be wavering in the 20th anniversary given everything Saban is doing, if Marvel has the copyright still, and again, this is speculation, if they still have the copyright on the comics, then why don't they produce Sentai comics or do Battle Fever J for a new generation and all that? Why isn't that being done? And if Marvel doesn't have the rights, why isn't somebody else doing that? How come we're not seeing in comic book stores, Bioman the comic book out there? Because again, everything that Marvel was doing was pretty much happening over in Japan. So where's the American distribution for what they have the copyright for, or somebody does? I mean, even if Toei has retained the copyright for comics or other distribution like that, then I don't know why they're not trying to hit the American market here in the zenith of the comic book, translation to film and television. Because that just seems like this seems like a perfect opportunity to go ahead and strike. You go out and see a $200 million superhero film, and how much Robert Downey Jr. is getting paid for his roles in movies, and how it's like helping people with their careers and putting people in work and all this kind of stuff. It just seems like the literal gold mine basically, and nobody's rushing to do that with Sentai. Now, there's an issue I'm going to discuss later about the distribution of Sentai and DVD in the United States, so I'm not going to go too deep into that debate at the moment. But again, somebody has the distribution rights for comics at least, and to these characters, so again, why isn't that necessarily being used? Let's say Marvel does have it. Well, why don't they do a Battle Fever J comic? In watching history of comics, they have done many, many times where they will take a popular character from a certain era who's no longer popular and reinvent them for the modern day. They did that with Jonah Hex in the 80s and 90s. They took him out of his element from the Western comics after they died, and they put him to a space age theme. And Jonah Hex, I mean, he, again, was in a bunch of Batman properties. He got his own film and everything. So, it worked for the Jonah Hex character. Captain America, the most popular example, was a direct product of World War II. 20 years later, Stan Lee and I think it was Steve Ditko, wanted to revive the character, and they did, and look where the character is now. Because they even needed to revive him, you know, in the last decade to make him the Captain America that's suitable for the Marvel Cinematic films. So, with all the properties that Marvel has, why don't they go dig back to the 70s and say, hey, we got this international team of superheroes working in Japan? I mean, they don't even have to call them Sentai. They don't even have to be called Power Rangers. Heck, their costume designs are so different than that. Even, they don't even look like Power Rangers. So, why isn't Battle Fever J or any Sentai property being utilized in comic books? Because I'll tell you this right now, Raptor did get me the free Comic Book Day Power Rangers comic, which I have not read yet, but I am going to do and talk about that on a future podcast, so don't worry about that. And, you know, if they had a Battle Fever J American comic series, heck, I'd go ahead and read it. But again, they're not making that. And I can't find any information on why they're not. Because I know that there are different property rights in different medium, basically. Because we know Bandai has the rights for the toy distribution in the United States. Okay, we know that for a fact. We also know that Bandai Namco does the games, but for a while it was THQ that had the Power Ranger rights for video games. Okay? So different forms of media will have different rights to publish, and so why can't we get this? That's why I'm still not understanding right here. Why? Because Marvel, comic books to me seem like they will take the smallest little thing and bring it back, or make a story arc, or, you know, you ever read it's like a Roland Emmerich film, like a cast of thousands that goes on for 3 hours, would be the best way to go ahead and describe it. So I'm just really kind of curious about this. And again, why can't I not find any Battle Fever J comics? Because I went to the Marvel website, I typed in Battle Fever J, I typed in Sentai, I typed in all this stuff. The Marvel's main website has absolutely no information on these guys I can find. The wiki is limited to 1 page, which just talks about Battle Fever J in less than a paragraph, and has a very bad photo of the team. The Ranger wiki has a few things in there, things that are, you know, I already know at this particular point. So information on this is very limited, and I would love to go ahead and know more about it. And just think, wouldn't it be great to see Miss America and Captain America cross over someday? I mean, again, I don't know too much more about Miss America other than what we did for Sentai Origins, but geez, it would be great for them to go ahead and do that. I mean, I'm just thinking about the whole situation, and I'm just like, do it. It would be awesome. Come ahead and do this. So if Marvel, you still have the rights, do it. And if Marvel, you don't have the rights, either get the rights back, or you guys who do have the rights, do something with it. That's always hate when these people have these rights, like they hold on to the film rights and don't do anything with them. That's something that always kind of bugs me. And again, it's not even really film in this case. It's really just anything related to Sentai American distribution. Because I know you have Power Rangers already and stuff, but, you know, without having the Power Ranger title and being able to dive into the Sentai mythos and get away with the things that Sentai is able to get away with, I would definitely like to go ahead and see that. So again, not much information on the Marvel's Earth 79203. I would like to know if there's any more information out there. So if you guys know anything about this universe, has it actually appeared in a comic? Did Battle Fever J ever appear in the Avengers or an Iron Man comic or anything like that? And again, who has the rights? And again, what are they doing with them? Are they just sitting on a shelf, or what are they doing? That's what I would like to go ahead and know. And again, I'll talk about the DVD rights to Sentai later podcast. That's going to be kind of a big point of contention for me. But again, right now, it baffles me that in this age of where we are with comic films and television shows, that this has not become a thing as of yet. And, you know, some people may argue that it's too similar to Power Rangers because, well, it is Power Rangers. But again, last I checked, Saban has the rights to adapt the shows into Power Rangers. And they obviously have the rights to some old Sentai characters as Super Mega Force is meant to be believed. But does Saban have the distribution rights to do, a Jetman comic? Because if they do, why haven't they done that yet? Again, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Why isn't any of this stuff being done? That's primarily what I want to go ahead and know. And I want to know who has the rights to it so I can call them and say, hey, do it. Let's see it. Because I hate to see squandered opportunities. And that's what's happening. That's why I'm glad Power Rangers is making a film while they are now, because we're in the heyday of it. And, the film may come out, before Avengers 3 and all that, and they'll just up the ante. They've been around. They'll see X-Men Apocalypse, Avengers 2, Captain America 3. All those films will have been out, and Power Rangers can look and say, hey, we're going to make our film better than this. And maybe that's what they're waiting to do with a Sentai property. Again, not necessarily a film and all that, but put it in comic book form or other media distribution. So, guys, I know I'm prattling on and all that, but that's just what happens when you can't find anything on the internet to work with. Again, it's just really amazing there isn't anything here to go off on other than what we've already discussed about their properties. But, man, that magic Battle Fever J comic book out there, I'd love to find that and see that. So, all right, guys, well, I'm not going to take any more of your time. Last call. I think I'm done with this, so definitely any information you have, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I want to thank you guys for listening tonight. Have a good evening, and the tavern is now closed.